So, doing these videos now, typical white guy series. It's already been I've already learned some lessons, gotten some facts wrong, um, stumbled through trying to talk right, and I'm also surprised at how much it's already been dominated by politics. Um, it's more that's more in me and ingrained in a lot of my thoughts than I think even I realized. I was always a fan of the type of movies where the good guy just kind of found himself drawn into a situation where his life is going all right, but then just the events, curiosity, fate, draw him into a, a, a situation. A few good men, close encounters, and I feel like that's what politics have been for me. I get drawn in. I don't have a choice. It's what I think is important. My aunt the other night. I mean, she teaches sixth grade. Loves to read, watches the news. Brilliant woman, and she said, "I hate politics. I hate it. I hate it." And I felt bad for her. I mean, she's right. I mean, it's her feelings, but politics can be rough, and I think one of the things is that ultimately, like I always prided myself on being able to stay above or out of politics, where I could write. I thought about it. I've been like on Facebook. I would write posts, and I was proud of the fact that both my conservative friends and family and my liberal friends and family would both like the same post. And to me, that said I was doing something right. That I was splitting the difference and pleasing everybody. Um, but actually, that's kind of a cop out. And when you please everyone, I think that's the thing with politics. I'm learning is that when you please everyone, you're really not saying anything. Um, I'm also the type of person that it takes me a while. My brain is still a little slower than it should be. It takes me a while to realize when something bothers me or angers me. And the James Comey interview, this is been over a week now, and he said something in there in the interview where he said one of his favorite compliments that he got was someone commented that Comey was a political hack, and they just didn't know for what side. And he was proud of that, like I was proud of my middle of the road Facebook post. Um, but no, that's actually not a compliment, especially in his case, because I mean, if it's one event that you're commenting on and you receive positive credit from both sides, then yeah, to a certain degree, you're being fair, you're being judicious. But in James Comey's case, Republicans hate him for what he's doing now politically, and liberals hate him for what he did in a different situation altogether. So no, that's not a compliment. Um, Politics is about picking a side. It's about what do you believe in, how hard are you willing to fight for it, and what do you do about the people that don't agree with you? Do you work with them? Do you go around them? Do you go over them? And I think that's a tough thing for me because I do. I'm a pleaser. I want everyone. That's where maybe me and James Comey have in common. I want everyone to like me, and I don't want to hurt anybody else. I really don't. but I also like politics and government. And I believe how important those things are. And if you're going to be involved in that, you're going to get hurt and you're going to hurt other people. I don't know when. I remember Reagan. I remember, and he was smooth. I was 14, 15 years old. I remember, and first off, he looked the ideal president. I remember hearing him talk. I remember, 14, 15 years old. I remember hearing him talk, and the entire time he would talk about whatever the subject it was, I remember like nodding my head like, okay, yeah, yeah. And then he would get to the end. He'd get to the conclusion of what those facts meant, or what he'd get to the end of what his decision was going to be. And at the end, I was just, no, wait a minute, what? No, I disagreed with them, and it felt weird because I grew up in the military, and then I was in the military. The president. My first title for a president is commander in chief. That's my first thought of what he is. And so, growing up in the military and then being in the military, you don't argue with the boss. He's the boss. He is, So it seemed when I first started disagreeing with the boss, and during the Reagan years, and then actually I was in Navy boot camp for the 92 election. And I was already going to vote. If I was going to vote, I probably wasn't going to vote, but if I was going to vote, I was going to vote for Bill Clinton. He was just a younger, cooler version. And I grew up caring about other people that weren't in my community. I had a great history teacher in 11th grade, and we were looking at the black and white footage from the civil rights era, from the police in Alabama and Georgia and Mississippi using fire hoses on crowds, and the whites only signs, and how America got away with that, how you pass amendments in 1865 and then get around enforcing them until 1965, and even then putting up a fight. But it was these black and white images of injustice, of unfairness. And then when I was a junior in high school, I can't remember the date that we saw it, but I know the date on the video. It was March 3rd, 91, and the Rodney King video. And for the first time, watching these modern day LAPD officers beating the crap out of an unarmed African American, it was like history. The black and white history videos were brought into modern day color, and it shocked me. And that was my first awakening to the unfairness of America, that we all were still not equal, that history was still present. So 92, I was in Navy boot camp during the election, and our company commander came in. I remember it was lights out. We were all in our racks, and I remember he came in, and he said, "Well, now tomorrow morning, after we get up, you're all going to go vote if you want to, and I'm not here to tell you who to vote for, but I do want to remind you that President Bush was a Navy man, Navy pilot." And some of us actually laughed out loud before LOL, but we actually did laugh out loud, because that's the wrong thing to do. When you've been in boot camp and you've had a company commander on you, controlling your life, controlling every second of your day, And now he's giving you a chance to like be independent and go against him. Oh, thank you. You know, he probably looking at it. You know, he probably got Clinton 4 or 5 extra votes out of that boot camp class. And then, so yeah, that was my first vote was 92. And then the 2000 Florida election. You know, I call it the Florida election. I mean, obviously it was a national election 2000 with Bush and Gore, but it came down to Florida and the way it came down and the fact that now 92 and 96 were blowouts. I mean 88, you know 2000 just brought the American election again, dragging it out of the past and I mean bringing it to such a relevance. Nobody followed elections before 2000 like they did after 2000. I mean, that was just how close it was, how crazy it was. And I remember actually David Boies, the attorney for Gore, listening to him speak. He was I was fascinated by how listening to the oral arguments from the Supreme Court, listening to how smart those people were in that room, and the fact that I was starting to be able to follow it, that it made some sense to me, that I could follow what they were talking about, and I was enthralled by. I love the Supreme Court. I love the idea of just letting the facts. It's all about logic and reasoning and evidence. It's not about there's no armies involved. You have to base it on reasoning, and you get asked a lot of tough questions. And I remember I actually fell asleep one night listening to the transcript, listening to the audio version of David Boies in front of the Supreme Court. And I was hooked. And I had come down on the side. And really, since 2000, my life has been reckoning with that. And for different reasons, hesitant to kind of step into the light. And not just fully care or engage, but do the most good. And I'm still working on it, but it is who I am, and it's who I want to be. I love my family. I'm here in Alabama with them, but they're predominantly Republican, conservative, and I'm not. But I'm here for a reason. And it wasn't to get along with them. It wasn't to make, unfortunately, it's not going to make them happy politically. But we'll be okay.